over 1,500 victims, and a 15-year reign of terror. These apex predators were the maneaters of Njombe. The pride of 15 lions turned man-eaters that remained at large for over a decade, terrorizing the people of Tanzania. This is their story. Legends shudder in the presence of true terror. The infamous Tsavo man-eaters may have garnered worldwide notoriety, but their sinister deeds pale in comparison to the lions of Njombe. In the depths of southern Tanzania, a pride of 15 lions unleashed a reign of terror that gripped the region from 1932 to 1947, with a bloodlust that knew no bounds. These cunning predators prowled under the cloak of darkness, leaving in their wake a trail of unimaginable horror. Their prey? Human souls. But what made these lions so formidable? They were not ordinary beasts. Reports emerged of their calculated strategies, employing a chilling relay system to drag lifeless bodies deep into the haunting wilderness. The colonial government had foolishly slaughtered countless zebras, giraffes, and buffaloes to safeguard livestock from the ravages of rinderpest. Little did they know that their ill-fated actions would unleash an even greater menace upon the land. Locals whispered a different story, one that sent shivers down spines. They believed that a malevolent witch doctor named Matamula Mangara, cast out as headman from the Iyayi village, controlled these feral demons. As the body count escalated, fear gripped the hearts of the people. Darkness descended, and the lion's roar became an omen of impending doom. Whispers of these man-eaters had circulated for years, their brutal killings etched into the region's history. Strange tales of witchcraft and lion men emerged. Could there be truth hidden in these legends? The villagers were terrified and relayed chilling accounts of a man masquerading as a lion, preying on unsuspecting victims. The line between human and beast blurred. In came George Gilman Rushby, an experienced elephant hunter in Tanzania, who had heard of the beasts that were terrorizing the region. Intrigued by the supernatural whispers, he couldn't help but wonder if his trusty rifle would be enough to confront the looming threat of the man-eating lions. When he arrived, he found only scant references to the lions. Even the local game scouts seemed reluctant to discuss them, as if silence could ward off their terrifying presence. This hushed fear suggested a grave dilemma. Uttering the lion's name was believed to invoke a dark fate upon the speaker, adding an eerie dimension to the unfolding mystery. Amidst the chaos of establishing his new office, the road foreman, charged in his face etched with anger and frustration. He demanded answers, questioning George's plans to confront the looming threat of the lions. Half of his crew had fallen prey to these vicious predators, while the remaining workers trembled in paralyzing fear. The weight of responsibility increased, and George prepared to face an adversary that lurked within the heart of darkness. While driving to Beryl Flats, George picked up two elderly African hitchhikers, hoping to gather information about the local lions. Speaking of such matters was considered taboo and dangerous, but George took a chance. When he asked about the dangers of walking in the area, one man's face flashed with fear. He cryptically replied that the real danger lies beyond the Rubato River. George didn't press further and dropped the men off. He then visited a local hotel run by James Cormack, a Scottish former athlete. After discussing politics, George redirected the conversation to man-eaters. Cormack revealed that the lions had crossed the river, possibly seeking respite from leopard troubles. Leopard attacks were rare, but lion sightings were a cause for concern. Cormack warned George about the difficulty of obtaining information, as locals were reluctant to discuss sensitive matters. After expressing his disdain for politicians, George continued his journey, now aware that the river and surrounding swamps acted as a natural barrier against the lions. He arrived at the Njombe administrative station, nestled amidst green hills and a picturesque waterfall. Inside, he met the local gamekeeper called Smith, who revealed the grim state of the district, unrolling a map on his desk. The killings by the lions had started in 1932, with no evidence of anything other than lion attacks. Despite efforts by African police and game scouts, no lions had been successfully shot. George was perplexed by this revelation. He dared to ask the dreaded question, "How many lions?" Smith showed him the lions' vast hunting range, estimating around 1,500 square miles. The local village head kept records from 1941, listing 230 deaths in just 4 years. The total death toll likely exceeded 1,500. Smith urged immediate action, and George vowed to find a solution. They visited Reverend Martin N., who shared his records of 200 deaths in the past 2 years. Locals believed the lions were a result of black magic. George remained skeptical, but the Reverend insisted he would understand in due time. Recent incidents included a kitchen servant being attacked near the church, and a daylight abduction. Abandoned homes and a sense of fear permeated the area. The lions displayed cunning strategies, jumping onto huts and boldly attacking villages. George returned to his office, organizing a plan and calling for game scouts. However, he was called to help with a locust outbreak in the Rukwa Valley. It wasn't until January 1946 that he could resume the hunt. Dividing his team into 3, they set up trap guns with various baits and tracked rumors of recent attacks. The lions proved elusive, dispersing in smaller groups and avoiding consecutive attacks on the same village. George was growing increasingly frustrated, and he resorted to digging out pits for night surveillance. He shot at shadows, hoping for a lion but only hitting wild game. Lions' tendency to play with prey without consuming it hindered cooperation. One night, staying in an attacked village, a young girl shared valuable information. George seized the opportunity, joining them and tracking fresh lion tracks for hours through dense bushes. There, finally under the tree, they found a group of 5 lions resting. When the lions heard the rustling, they sat up, but seemed more curious than terrifying. George took aim and successfully shot the lioness. He gathered the local villagers to witness the slain lioness, and offered its skull as a trophy. He wanted to dispel the belief that these were supernatural beings. Soon after, George received news of ongoing attacks at Young Bamboo's mining village. Despite the locals' reluctance to help, he arrived and joined forces with 2 scouts. Over the next 3 days, they hunted the lions without success. Desperate for a confrontation, George finally encountered a large group of fresh tracks on the 4th day. They pursued the rear guard, and when a healthy male noticed them, the men fired simultaneously. Although unsure of which shot killed the lion, it was crucial to George that the locals understood the lions could be stopped. An emergency return to India meant that George had to leave for some time. In his absence, another man guarding the village fell victim to the lions. On his return, George hunted for 5 days without success. Then he visited a strange village with no children, and armed residents on edge due to a lion sighting. He joined a group to hunt the lion, while leaving some behind to protect the village. After a few hours, they encountered another solitary male lion. As they approached, a noise from the bushes startled them. Unlike the other lions, this one charged immediately. George fired a shot but missed, and the lion continued its advance. With the lion just 10 yards away, George fired a second shot, hitting it in the head. George informed his wife that he would stay in John Bay until he dealt with the remaining lions. There he learned that the attacks had decreased, but 19 people had been eaten in his absence. George decided to camp in the area with a scout, and visited the little girl who had helped him before. Unfortunately, the villagers informed him that the lions had arrived 4 days earlier, and the girl had been killed. There, following the fresh prints, they followed for hours, until they came across another group of lions. They formed a line and shot as many lions as possible, managing to kill 2 and wound 1 that escaped. However, their progress was interrupted when George had to leave to investigate a separate incident involving an elephant. In his absence, 3 more monitors were killed, bringing the total to 8. However, there were reports of a decrease in the number of people attacked. George examined the map and headed west. After 6 hours of searching, they returned to the village, only to learn that an attack had occurred in their absence. The lions had evaded them and taken an elderly man. Local villagers agreed to assist George in tracking the lions, including a skilled 16-year-old tracker armed with a spear. People seemed more willing to confront the lions recently. The teenage tracker proved exceptional, and they soon picked up the lions' trail. However, the dense bush and tall grass obscured their visibility. But they pressed on. Suddenly, they heard a faint noise. 5 yards ahead, a lioness lay, staring back at George. Another larger lioness approached. And as she leapt, he shot her down. George reloaded, noticing one man had fled while the younger remained. The injured lioness didn't move. But movements in the grass hinted at more lions nearby. George waited, then cautiously moved towards where the lioness fell. Suddenly, a male lion appeared just a few feet away, causing George to freeze. The lion roared, and George turned and fled. Later, following the blood trail with the boy, they found the lioness. The boy axed to stab her heart with his spear, revealing that the Eaton village victim was his father. He spent several more days scouring the area, hoping to come face to face with the intimidating male that had terrified him. George came across more villagers, learning that 2 more individuals had fallen victim to the lions. George was perplexed by their exceptional hunting abilities, evasion skills, and peculiar diet. The differences between these lions and their counterparts puzzled him greatly. Villagers began to discuss foul play. Police were investigating 30 killings, and the villagers were sure that people had disguised themselves as lions. Confusion deepened as human footprints and puncture marks were discovered alongside the evidence of attacks, alongside reports of actual lion shootings in the area. It's unclear if these stories were true or mere legends. The remaining lion population seemed to have drastically decreased, with only 2 or 3 males reportedly left. Notably, the lions had confined themselves to a small area of about 15 square miles near a small village. The manager organized his game scouts into multiple teams, and, after days of searching, they discovered fresh tracks and located a pair of lions. George recognized the male as the same intimidating one from before. They shot the male and female and killed both. He believed this was the last man-eating lion and was relieved to report back to Smith. However, just before Smith's departure, he received a telegram revealing another woman had been eaten, proving him wrong. With his help again, the scouts successfully hunted down 2 female lions, bringing the total to 22 killed. The question remained: were the lions driven by a taste for humans or influenced by supernatural forces? George's descriptions and outsider perspectives left room for doubt. However, there was no evidence of external manipulation. The local village leader's reinstatement seemed fortuitous, impacting beliefs and support. Considering George's estimate of 1,500 lion kills, it may even be an underestimate given the ongoing attacks. While human activities may have driven the lions to man-eating, they had to be dealt with. It's important to note that even today an average of 250 people are killed every year by lions. It is estimated that more than 100 of these take place in Tanzania.